Hey guys, Dylan here. Quick one before we dive into this week's episode. We do not have a podcast sponsor yet. So one little thing we want you guys to do.
Just sponsor us.
Okay, yeah, sure. You could do that if you wanted to. But also, it's completely free just to leave us a review wherever you get your podcast, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else. We've been known to be some places like Audible, apparently. Ooh. So wherever you listen to us, if you could leave us a review, it's really helpful for us to push out to more and more teachers and to help as many of you as possible. Hayden, let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name is Hayden.
How you doing, Hayden?
I'm all right. I've had a terrible week.
Okay, straight in. Let's
Terrible
go.
week. The whole week was ruined.
Okay.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because I dropped my head shaver in the bath and broke it. So now, as you can see, if you're watching this, you might have the first thing you might have thought is, "Wow, isn't Hayden's hair getting long and luscious?" Yes, it is, because I dropped my shaver.
But only on 50% of the scalp.
I did the top. Luckily, I did the top bit where there's no hair anyway.
I'm sorry. Why do you even shave the top of your head?
Because it's fun. I like to see how many wisps of hair come off and how
and
that number goes down.
Every week, it's lower,
how it goes down. So I did that bit, dropped it, and now I've got extremely long sides. So yeah, my week's ruined. Yours?
So you're going for the monk look, aren't you?
Yeah, I need to get it all the way around.
Heading into the summer term with all business at the back, nice and cool on the top.
Oh yeah,
get that sweat beads dripping off.
Yeah,
nice, excellent. Well, my week's been great. None of my equipment's broken.
Yeah, good.
So that's been good. But yeah, I don't know. We're back new term. So we're back at school now. And I think most of the country are back this week. There was a bit of a discrepancy whether some people finished a week before someone else. But I heard we get 2 weeks off for Easter. I heard on the grapevine that some places in the country are only getting 1 week.
Yeah, that's mad. Surely they get another week somewhere else, right?
Well, they've got to, because it's 190 days that we've got to teach, Hayden. We know that, don't we?
All those northerners. You should know this. Your roots are there.
I don't know. Maybe I should put some words in. If any of you are up north and broke up later than anyone else, let us know. When are you going back? What's going on? But we're back as of today. Well, this is technically a bank holiday.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, shall we?
How are you feeling about bank holidays?
Well, obviously, we're recording this a few days before then. Bank holidays are great, obviously. It's just another day off. But I am going to be using this whole bank holiday to do work. Right. So our daughter River normally goes to my mum on a Monday and Tuesday. She's going to go with my mum on Monday still, because Laura and I,
because you can't be bothered to parent.
Because we don't want to parent. We're just lazy. We're sort of distant parents. Yeah. No, but rather than taking some of the half term, the holidays, which is normally what happens to do work, we were like, if you can have her on Monday, Lauren and I will just get all of our schoolwork done on Monday. So what better than spending a bank holiday doing all of the pre-work so that you can do your work at your job, just enough though, so that you don't have to take home too much work from your job outside of work in the week during work weeks. Do you know what I mean? So it's like bank holiday Mondays. Is it a holiday, or is it let's get all my pre-work done for free?
Well, also, it's not even really a holiday, because lots of the bank holidays are kind of hidden in the school holidays, right? Yeah. So there's a whole thing with teachers most of the time who are like, God, we don't even really get the bank holiday. We're already off. We don't get that extra bank holiday. Yeah. And a lot of people go, well, you've already got all that time. That's a different argument. But what I want to say to people is, even this term. So we're heading into, for us, a 5-week term, and 2 of those weeks have a bank holiday in them.
Yeah, I know.
So week 1 for us, which is the day this episode's released, is a bank holiday. And then in week 3, we've got a bank holiday Monday too. So a lot of people, again, were like, are you lucky things? You're getting them in term time this year. Again, not really, because when they're not in term time, when they're not in half term and they push into term time like that, we still need to have 190 days in school teaching the children. Yeah, that's true. So, for example, we've got those 2 bank holidays this term, but our final week in school is a Monday, Tuesday.
It's just 2 days.
It's just extra 2 days.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never even thought about it like that. Of course, it's not really an actual day back.
No, not at all.
It's just a reshuffling of
days. It just moves it around a bit. We get a bit longer, maybe.
Well, I tell you what. Thanks for ruining the very, very last perk that I could think of in school. It's gone. There's nothing left now.
So that bank holiday you're spending working, don't worry, it's just a normal day off. Yeah, it's not a bonus.
It's just a normal day off and just spending it working. Yes, come on.
Well, one thing whilst we're still kind of reflecting on these holidays that we've got, we've just had 2 weeks off, and it's brilliant. It's needed. Don't get me wrong. I do think at this time in the year, having 2 weeks to fully reset really gets us ready for that last
really rubbing it into those northerners.
No, yeah, I just do think, guys, 2 weeks. Oh, it's beautiful.
You just need it.
You just need it. But I always say this. It's not very relaxing for 2 reasons. One reason's always been the same. But the newest one for us is being a parent. It's like, oh, finally half term. What's that? Still up at 4:30? Yeah, because I've got Rory in the other room going, Dada, oh, mate, please, please, do we just want to just please? If I leave you for 5 minutes, he might go back to sleep. Of course he won't.
No.
Dada, whack, whack, dada. Okay, and I go in. 4. But it's nice. It's nice because I think to myself, do you know what? He's saying dada. Okay, I'll get over it. It's really annoying. But okay, I can go in. I go in there and he sees me after saying dada for 5 minutes. Yeah. He looks at me and goes, Mama. It's like, no, sorry, mummy's asleep. Mummy's in bed. So it's my turn. Because we alternate days. Like, it's my turn today. And he'll just go, no, Mama. Yeah. Like, okay, so I'm up early and you don't even want me.
Yeah, brilliant. No, do you know what you should do? Yeah. You should always meet the needs of your child. So you should absolutely go and wake up Lauren every single time.
Sorry, Lauren.
He wants you again. I don't know what's going on.
It's every day.
8th day in a row. So strange.
Don't you want Mama? Dada. Shh.
Darling, you're saying Mama wrong.
Didn't you just say Mama? Dada. Oh, he's changed how he said Mama, hasn't he? I'm off to sleep.
I'm off to sleep, son.
But the other thing, which has always been there, is just the whole, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but adult admin, getting life done. I mean, doing anything. Right. So like, I've been waiting for what feels like months to like sort out my drawers and stuff in the kitchen. Do you know those drawers that just fill up with nothing?
I mean, yeah, you're on the worst end of that spectrum.
What do you mean?
Like, you are quite a cluttery, untidy.
I don't know what you mean. I put it all in the drawer, and it's all away. Then it's in the drawer. Yeah,
you're the kind of person though. I'm trying to think of a good example of drawers. Like, it might be in the right drawer, and there might even be a space in that drawer for it. Yeah. But you won't put it in that space. You'll put it upside down, back to front, in another bit, and you'll put up 3 other things on top of it, and be like, oh.
But it's still away. Yeah. And so I open my drawer. And I'd see things like, do you know that green tape that helps you do decorating? Yeah. That'll be next to like a paperclip. And then next to the paperclip will be one of his old bottle sterilizers.
Like, oh, okay. It's just a drawer of stuff. I tell you what, Dylan. I was around your house the other day. You don't know this because you weren't in the room. And we were about to leave, go on a walk. And I said to Lauren, have you got any paracetamol? I've got a bit of a headache. And we went into your kitchen. Good luck. And we pulled open this massive drawer. It's like, maybe. First of all, it's not even a yes or a no. It's there could be some.
Don't know.
And that drawer was a tip. It just made no sense. It just had like random instructions in it.
Might need them.
Old boxes of paracetamol. No paracetamol in them. Just the boxes. You know, you always take them out.
Yeah, but you might need them for your new paracetamol.
Yeah, you might need those boxes.
Yeah.
You might need those boxes.
The cardboard might fail.
Yeah. Fortunately, the drawer, despite being completely full, had no medication in it. So,
well, you'd be pleased to know, part of my sorting, there is now a medical drawer which has plasters
and boxes
and no paracetamol still because I have any in the house. Yeah. But that's one thing. You know, just getting a dentist appointment. Yeah. You're still reeling from the whole drawer thing, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm just thinking of your house. But yeah, go on.
My house is a bomb site anyway because of all the work that's been going on. But anyway, just doing adult stuff, it's so much harder again with a child. Yeah. And I want to go back and shake my 29-year-old self by the shoulders and just say, do this stuff now whilst you can. Because I would just sit there and do nothing all day.
Clean that drawer.
No, drawer's fine. Isn't half term lovely? I can just sit and watch Netflix all day. Mate, go and do something because you can't now. You can't do it now. But yeah, adult admin sucks.
And you hurt yourself the other day, didn't you?
Oh my God. Okay. This is when I knew I was old. So yeah, I'm 31 now, anyone listening. And for a lot of people, it's quite sad to think that a lot of people think, he's over the hill. That's old enough for me. But oh God, I'm in my 30s. I knew I was old yesterday when I was emptying the bin. And the bin, it got. You know, like sometimes you take the bin liner out and it gets a bit caught. On your bin. So I'm like,
annoying.
Like trying to reshape my bin to get it out because something's getting caught. And I was pulling, and I've genuinely like pulled a muscle in my shoulder.
Oh, what a way!
So it used to be. How did you get your shoulder injury? Oh, I don't know. I was playing squash or something. I was doing something athletic when I hurt myself. I was taking a bin bag out of a bin and it wouldn't come out, and I really hurt my shoulder to the point last night where I was lying there. Lauren was half asleep and I was obviously drifting off, and I'd move and I would just go,
oh no. And I bet you got no sympathy.
No whatsoever. Lauren turned over.
Yeah, of course.
She's like, is that Rory again, Dada?
Yeah, just remember it's your turn to get up as well, mate. Get on with it. As she started passing you empty boxes of paracetamol. Go on, deal with it. Oh, look, you can help it with this. Go on, take it imaginary. Yeah, that's mad. Well, right. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. But I'm ready. I'm ready to go for this new term. I like summertime because loads of stuff happens. Yeah. We've got sports day coming up. It's like the culmination of all your efforts as a teacher. All seems to come together. And there's something nice about when the weather just turns. We always say it's every year, but oh my God, just in my personal life, it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
And I just love it when the kids are happier.
Yeah.
I'm happier. I finish my day at work and it's still lovely outside. We can go into the field. We can do bits and bobs like that. I'm really excited. And the thing I love most about teaching is being with the kids and helping them out.
Yeah.
And I feel like the summer term, it gets hot and stuffy in the classroom, but it just gives so much more opportunity for the kids to be happier and more content at school. And that makes me happier as a teacher. We've
got a grueling 3 weeks ahead. Most teachers in the country, if you're in primary, you'll know it's the SATs bit. It's the bit where the year sixes dominate the school, and it's SATs coming up. We've got 3 weeks of left of revision, then it's actual SATs week.
I like when year six do really well with the SATs, the children. It's like, wow, year six, aren't they amazing? It's brilliant. But when they don't do as well, it's like, oh, it's the whole school. It's the key stage 2 SATs. It's everyone. Don't worry about it. Did well, take all the credit. Did badly, it's everyone. Everyone.
Yeah, fortunately, I always do well, so I take the credit every year. Get over it, mate. Get over it.
No, I always take the mick, and it's because you're a year 6 teacher. But the pressure must be unreal.
It is nice to get it done. I'll tell you that. Once it's done, I'm like, oh my God.
Do you still feel the pressure now like you used to? Because you've been year 6 for a while. But do you still not, even though you're in control of your thoughts about it, and you can be like, well, I know that I can put this on this pedestal here where I know it's important, but it's not going to take over my life. Yeah. Does it still seep through though?
It seeps through a bit. Like, does it affect my workload? Yeah, it will do. Like, literally, one of my jobs on Mondays is to plan a bunch of extra maths English lessons. So in those 3 weeks before, we do, I'm going to say loads, we do 3 extra maths lessons and 3 extra English lessons basically in that whole 3 week period.
A lot of schools would do 5 a week.
Mate, honestly, some schools will do the whole term 3 and term 4 doing boosters. All it's so boring. It's so boring. So I've got to plan those. That's different, I suppose, rather than just using some top unit of geography or something that we.
But does it come into your stress levels and stuff? Yeah, your workload might increase a bit, but have you managed to really control now where you're just like, I'm just going to teach them?
Yeah, I don't care anymore. Genuinely, it's not that I don't care. I don't care enough to get stressed.
Sure.
I know what I've done with the kids is right. I know that I'll give them the best possible that I can to help them. I also know, quoting us from literally an episode ago, is that there is only so much difference we can make. Yeah. And in the last 3 weeks, there's only a very, very, very small difference you can make on top of that small difference. You know what I mean? It's like people on Facebook at this point, I always say it every year, the panic sets in, will post things like, oh, my reading data is really, really, really low.
Especially reading.
I need to get it up by 20%. What can I do in these last 3 weeks? What quick tips do you have?
Nothing.
And honestly, people are always polite and they'll try and do some helpful advice. But it's I never do this, but I would like to be literally nothing. They've had 6 years to get to this point. What do you mean 3 weeks?
Why would you do a comment to one person on Facebook when you can say it to thousands of people on the podcast?
I can just do it right here. I know, because there's more nuances in it. But when it's on Facebook, it feels like keyboard warrior.
Yeah, of course.
But
there is nothing.
There's nothing. What do you mean? No. Reading. Yeah, that thing that famously takes an unbelievable amount of time to master over time. You need exposure to tons of books, and it's you can't do anything in 3 weeks. What are you talking about?
With maths, I feel like there are gaps you can fill. There's stuff you can do in maths, you can focus on arithmetic.
Yeah.
If you know, for example, your children are really getting low scores in their long division, let's say, you can do a lesson or two in long division, which might actually boost some marks up. There's something tangible you can do there. But even that, if you've got to this point and the children still can't do something, you've probably done it a lot already. Yeah. It's going to be minimal movement at that point. I mean, it's still worth doing.
Whereas reading, it's you think of maths, right? All of the different micro strands we have. We can do gap analysis, and you can, like you said, you can be okay, they can't do multiplying fractions. Let's do more of that. Yeah. Reading, it's since reception, they've done 3 skills essentially. There's a couple more that don't really come into the test that much. They've done word meaning, they've done retrieval, and they've done inference. They've had 6 years to do it. So what are you going to do in these last 3 weeks to boost it? Suddenly get double the scores? Yeah. Honestly, nothing. Some test technique, maybe, of playing the game. It's you're not even doing anything to make them better readers at this point. It's just can you play the game more
familiarization.
To get 3 marks, you need to do 2 points and 1 with evidence. So if you know that, kids, then you're more likely to get, okay, it's all right. Yeah. That might make a bit of a difference, but you're not actually going to improve that reading ability.
But what's the goal? The goal seems to shift to me. And this is where I don't like our school culture in general. Not our school we work in, but the school in this country, education culture, which is so driven by numbers and data and scores and tests that is seen as a really good use of time. Like, it's seen as an amazing use of time from leadership and from schools that are trying to get good marks. That, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we will do a lesson on answering 3-mark questions. Objectively, that's bloody nonsense.
Yeah, it is. Of course,
there is absolutely no inherent skill or outcomes for the children long term that they get out of knowing how to answer a 3-mark question in the SATs properly. That is pure technique driven exactly to the SATs, only to improve SAT scores,
which we've made up. Like, we've made up these tests.
Yeah,
they're made up by people. We have decided what these tests look
and
like.
And the 3-mark questions could look different.
Yeah.
And then we'd be doing something different. And you're right, because if the goal is to create better readers, we would never spend a minute doing anything like that.
No, of course we would.
A single second.
I truly believe that as well. I mean, our leaders at school must get sick of it, because I've spouted the same. I've said that same opinion for years, and I constantly say to people at our school, any other school that talks about it, stop teaching them test techniques.
Yeah.
Stop doing it. Stop doing whole lessons on comprehension where they have one text and there's all retrieval questions. It's boring. It's really, really boring. Just literally encourage them to read, enjoy reading, and therefore get better at reading. And I always say, kids that can read will pass the reading test.
Yeah.
There is no more to it.
But is it as simple as that? Because I know kids who can read who won't pass, and they can read.
But then they're not reading to the right standard.
But that's what I'm saying. So when you say a statement like kids who can read will pass the test, that's untrue.
Kids who can read at age expected standard will pass the test.
Well, that's just the definition, isn't it?
Yeah. But
so are you saying without test technique?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you only need half the marks to pass the test.
Yeah.
So those test techniques, there's no way test techniques are making that much difference. Yeah. Honestly.
Maybe for greater depth.
Okay, maybe, because that threshold's really high.
Yeah,
but I don't really care about that. Like, greater depth is like a vanity thing to me. Expected is like, okay, we're saying children need to be at this bar to be graded, deemed as expected for their age. It's like, okay, if you have a kid that's never been taught test technique, but they're just a strong reader because they just enjoy books and they read lots, right? So they are just age expected readers. They get it. They will pass that test.
So then this sounds to me as if inherently what you're saying here is the test is doing its job. Because if you're saying that you are just a good reader, that you will just pass this test and get expected, the test is almost a good thing. And the test is finding those children for you. And the problem comes with the obsession from people in the middle to try and move the dial tiny amounts obsessively, doing pointless stuff that doesn't really have an impact.
It's the interpretation on how to get kids through the test.
Right.
The test itself, in an ideological world, it's a good idea. Because in an ideological world, every teacher will fundamentally understand that the best thing you can do for the children is expose them to books and get them reading lots and basically foster their love of reading. Because if they do that, they will naturally pass the test anyway. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen in the real world. What happens is children's love for reading doesn't get fostered maybe straight away. Maybe family input is more than we ever factor in, and that's having a really negative impact because they hate reading at their home, and it's okay, we're battling with this now. And then they resort to, what can we do? What's a quick win? What's a quick fix? It's quick fixes. It's not real fixes. It's, well, if we can teach them like how to pass the test, and that might give them an extra 2 or 3 marks, which might be enough to push them through that threshold. We haven't developed their reading ability anymore, but we have now. We've taught them a few test tips, and then what happens is, to do that, though, we need some time. Let's take time out of them reading books to teach them these test techniques. Yeah. And it's like a circular way of thinking, because it's like, okay, well, now you're doing this, but at the sacrifice of more of their actual reading time, which ultimately is the only thing we really want them doing. And we get to this culture of, we're teaching for the wrong reason. We now teach test techniques and strategies. We go through past papers and we do millions of retrieval questions. We look at summarized questions, and then we give them all these questions. We have to order things in paragraphs because we know these types of questions come up. And it's like, we're not. This isn't what reading is supposed to be. This is not reading. This is tests. This is learning how to pass a test.
Yeah, because I essentially what you're saying here is, if you have a good solid understanding of the text, let's think of that summary type question, which always, well, not always, but often will come up, and it will say, order these events in the order it happened in the text. If you are a solid reader who reads and understands text well, you'll be able to answer that question within 10 seconds, because you'll remember it, or you'll know to go back and find it.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I want to dive a bit deeper whilst we're on this topic of, you mentioned the 3 big strands of reading.
Yeah.
The retrieval, the inference, and the word meaning. So very quickly, for anyone listening who's a little bit sketchy on what they all mean, retrieval are questions which simply are in the text, and you literally go and retrieve them. What color was the car? And you go to the text and it will say, driving his maroon car through the city, and you can just find it.
Just find it.
Inference is slightly harder in that you've got to work something out based on evidence. So it might be something like, what emotions were Jack feeling? And you look at the text and you find out he was crying. his shoulders were slumped and you got to work something out.
Yeah.
That's just a very, basic explanation of inference. And then word meaning is, again, what is the definition of this word?
Yeah.
In the
How is the word used in this sentence?
Exactly.
You have to work out. Well, yeah.
So you're talking about those three things and you say like, test technique, we're just doing just retrieval. We're doing just inference. It's boring.
Yeah.
Those three kind of encompass nearly every question you could possibly ask about a text anyway. So
pretty much.
Wouldn't you still be doing them in your ideal world? Have you got more of an issue with doing them in general, or have you got more of an issue with us labeling them, telling the kids this is all retrieval? Like, what's your problem?
I have an issue with doing lessons based on a question type, let's say retrieval.
Okay.
Not to inspire the children to read and enjoy reading and therefore get better at reading, but to show children the best techniques on how to solve those questions. Like, guys, underline the questioning word. And now we're going to skim and scan and we're going to find the word around this one and we're going to read backwards and forwards. Or like strategies where I'm like, these things don't make children better readers. They just don't.
Why?
Because they're not being exposed to new vocabulary. They're not being like engaged with fun stories. They're being told to underline words. They're doing like.
But what if a child can't answer that retrieval question, but then can with these strategies?
That's what happens.
But is that not improving their comprehension?
No, it's improving their score.
Okay, but
they're not getting better at reading.
But aren't they getting better at comprehension? Because if I were to ask a question, okay, I was to say, for example, how many wolves were there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're reading through the text, and there's a bit of a trick. Maybe you talk about two who are having like a conversation with each other, but then later on in the text it explains how there were three more in the background doing something, right?
Yeah.
And that child says two. Okay, so cool. I know it's two, but I'm going to explicitly teach you now and improve your comprehension by expanding your mind a bit to think, well, we need to make sure we take into account the whole text and we need to understand how there might be trick questions in here. And I'm going to actually improve your comprehension because your comprehension of this text right now is solely, you've gone to find that there's two, you've underlined two, like you're saying. This is maybe what you're getting at. And you just think there are two because you've been taught to underline something and you've got the answer of two. But is it still test technique to you to sit and say to the children, here are some trick questions then, and here's what we have to do to be able to improve our comprehension? Because if you get the answer 2 compared to someone else who gets the answer 5, the person who gets the answer 5 is better at comprehending texts. So so my point here is just ultimately, how much, what input can we have as the teacher then to improve that comprehension that you don't necessarily just dismiss as, it's test technique, it's pointless?
Okay, look, everything I think that was a really good example, by the way, of like that pushes it as far to the boundary I think as possible away from like that really abstract stuff I was talking about. The problem I have with all of it is it's still all within the confines of the test that we've made up.
Yeah.
Like in real life, how many times genuinely has a situation like that, like has someone asked you a question where like a trick question about something that you've had to read and it's like, didn't check the next paragraph though, did you? Tricked you. It doesn't happen in real life. People just read things and you either like, you'll read the whole, if you're reading something in real life, you'll read the whole thing anyway. If you only read half of the thing and then make an assumption and then go online talking about it, you're going to be made to look like a fool because you didn't read the whole thing.
But I think that's a massive problem.
What's the massive problem?
Doing that, what you've just said. If you just read half of it, come to a conclusion, have bad comprehension, let's just use the context again of going online. There are 2 wolves. I can't believe there are 2 wolves. That's a big issue of our time, which is not reading the whole article, which is just seeing a clickbait title, reading the first paragraph, coming to an assumption, and then going off and spouting that opinion everywhere with bad comprehension.
Yeah.
It's better comprehension to have read the full text, understand the full nuance, and got the entire picture to build your comprehension and understanding of something. That is better comprehension. And I think that's a good thing. And I think we can separate that from passing a test because I think that does have real world connotations of, I am actually improving your comprehension by teaching you this.
Yeah.
In the context of we're only doing SATs papers and only in this way of doing it because you're doing a SATs paper at the end of the year, I think that's bad.
Yeah.
But I do think there's got to be
room
for
skills.
Improving skills in terms of comprehension. And just where's that grey area or the overlap between the test and actually what is better comprehension?
Well, there definitely are, because think of all of secondary school.
Yeah.
Like when you're like unpicking literature. I think that's great. I don't think that's bad.
Yeah.
But I just don't think at primary school, where the point of primary school is the fundamentals, is I don't think we need to be doing that right now. I don't think we need to. We can do a little bit of it. We can do the basics. So I think that is a good skill.
Yeah.
And how to understand a text. That's like the meta analysis of text, isn't it? But really, the kids going back to the SATs, to pass the SATs paper, if that's the thing that we care about, they just need to be able to read age expected. They don't need full marks. So do you know what? If there is the odd question, there never is many. If there is the odd question that requires knowledge of the whole text, because it's got something at the start and a trick later on, and they have to really have comprehended the whole thing to get the nuance of that point, maybe they won't get that mark.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't. And maybe some of them will, because it's like, it's a good skill to learn. But to pass the SATs test, my original point was they just need to enjoy reading and just be good at reading. Just age expected readers will pass that test.
Okay.
Do I think that's a good skill? Yeah. But do you know what? We'll do more of that in secondary school. We can touch on it if we want to, but I'd rather we just got kids liking books.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I guess the only thing I care about is that, and I want to, by the end of primary school, kids to be able to read and enjoy texts and get something out of them and understand them.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm saying here is what is the overlap with what we're already doing? I think there's probably some overlap, but I just think we obsess. I completely agree with you. We obsess about this test.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting point that you mentioned about passing and being age expected.
Yeah.
Because if we are as a culture so obsessed with this age expected grade, which we are, that at the end of the day, that is what defines our education system right now, rightly or wrongly. I think wrongly, but that is what we're all aiming for. You only need to get half marks. I don't think people understand how many relatively simple questions you can get wrong and still be age expected. The bar isn't that high.
No.
It is genuinely half marks. And we've looked at it before. We talked about, again, word meaning, retrieval, and inference. I'm fairly sure we looked at it one year where you could get every single word meaning question wrong.
Yeah.
And still get age expected.
Yeah.
You could get every single inference question wrong and still get passed because you've got your retrieval.
Yeah.
So you could have the most basic understanding of a text at a certain level and get that age expected score. So a lot of the work we're obsessing over and doing boosters about and sacrificing time in the wider curriculum, which benefits so many children in so many ways, is for small gains within an expected boundary anyway.
Yeah.
We're taking time away from children doing art, which the child might be gifted and talented at.
Yeah.
Is already age expected, but might boost up 2 marks, might go from 24 out of 40 to 28 out of 40. Absolutely no different whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because it's still age expected. But what did make a difference for that child is the art that they're gifted and talented at, they missed out for 3 terms. I think the whole system's really, really, really broken.
Do you know what my ultimate, I know we're talking about this for ages now, but do you know what my ultimate problem with primary schools is that, especially through schools, right, is that the majority of them will spend the whole child's career in that school. Career
Yeah.
Whatever. The whole time that child is at school, in most schools, I'd say, they will be doing these test style lessons all the way through. And honestly, like we obviously make YouTube videos sometimes. I did like 3 YouTube videos that were like 45 minutes long each. And I'm not even joking, I couldn't think of any more stuff I could possibly teach regarding. They were just test style stuff. I was like, okay, let's get a couple of videos out on the test style stuff. I wonder how quickly I can summarize it.
Yeah.
3 videos. And I was like, that encompasses, honestly, everything I'd ever want to teach kids about comprehension in primary school if we're doing the test style avenue. How are we eking this out over 6 years? It's so boring.
Yeah.
It's uninspiring. They don't need to be doing this for 6 years. Honestly, you could just do it for a couple of weeks before the real SATs test. By the way, you all love reading now because we spent 6 years just reading books and analysing them together and talking about them. Doing the stuff you're talking about, to be fair, naturally, when reading books, we're just talking about characters and, why did the author do this? We've just read this earlier on. How does that change things? Just good questions about books that get them engaged. And then in the last 3 weeks, we can be like, by the way, this test that we're about to do, here's a couple of tips. I've made a few 45-minute videos on it. Watch it. Here's a few tips you can do just to help you like maximize your marks and like really show off your intelligence. Here they are.
So what role do you think across the school career, as we're going to call it? You mentioned like we're always doing test technique. It's boring. We need to be engaging our kids in books. I think a lot of people can get behind that idea of just getting children enjoying reading and immersed in it with quality teaching in terms of asking the right questions at the right time, still doing inference, retrieval, word meaning
through your discussions.
You have to through your discussion. Brilliant. What place do standalone texts and questioning have then across someone's school life. So I would argue, for example, my year fours, we've been doing a lot of work with a novel that they're really interested in. We've done Varjak Poor. They absolutely adored that book. We've been doing How to Train Your Dragon. They loved that book as well. Really engaged, fantastic work. Their assessments for reading have been really good. We're very pleased with how they're getting on. I think it's working really well.
Yeah.
However, I still think there is a huge need and almost a necessity to every now and then, not consistently, but maybe once or twice a term, just have a lesson where they're given a text they've never seen before.
Yep.
They read through it and they do answer questions, and they are test style in a way, because we'll answer a couple of retrieval, couple of inference, the kind of stuff we've been discussing and doing. I think that really, really helps them. Do you think we shouldn't do it at all?
Well, my question to you is why? Why do you think they need that?
I think they need it more because they've never, ever seen that text before. And I think a huge part of comprehension is being able to read and understand a text that you've not seen or understood beforehand. So the idea, for example, we're going through Varjak Poor, lots of class discussion, lots of teacher-led stuff. I'm reading the book to them. I might be explaining, rightly, by the way, to children who are 7 or 8, saying, oh, what do we think cunning means? Why is this cunning? Yeah, cunning means this. And the reason the author's done that is because this character, we want to give off this vibe. And isn't that interesting? I wonder, what do you think this character will do if the author's describing them as cunning? Building all of that in. But I do think if I'm building children who are good at comprehension and good readers and quality readers, I want them to be able to go to the library, pick out a book about lizards that they've never seen before and read and understand more about lizards. That's ultimately my aim. My ultimate aim is they can become readers themselves, pick books they like that is individual to them and get something out of it. So I think that's a huge part of comprehension too.
I think they do that without the need for doing random standalone lessons on text. Genuinely, we can't do this obviously because we can't just change reality. But I would love to. My prediction would be if we got rid of the way the SATs are, maybe we got rid of SATs completely, right? And they didn't have a test anymore that required them to read a piece of text that's about 1 or 2 pages long and answer some questions on it. I reckon no teacher would ever justify doing that lesson. They would no longer need it, because I think as much as we try and see the good in it, I think ultimately the only reason anyone does lessons where it's like, oh, we happen to have this 1-page long text every single time and we're all going to read it and answer some questions on it. I think the only reason we do that is because of the end result, which is they're going to be tested like that. And if they weren't tested like that, I bet nobody would ever integrate that. They'd just be like, no, we'll just use that. We'll just read more books. Every time we read, it's new.
Do you not? Yeah, it's true. Do you not feel like I just explained it without using the SATs though? In terms of, I just want them to be able to go and pick up a book and on their own and read it and understand it.
Not really, because I think that I think you simultaneously said that you already do that. You're just saying, we just need to do it a little bit more, and it just happens to be
on their own, without teacher-led.
Yeah,
without a teacher at the front reading it with them. Yeah, and explaining as we go.
They read books all the time.
So again, this is what I was trying to get at is. Are you separating very much here the teaching comprehension lessons with their constant home reading, books from the library, etc.? So this all goes on simultaneously, right? This is already happening. The children reading stuff standalone, you're not bothered about it being in the comprehension lessons too much because you know that they're standalone reading all the time because they've got their own.
They're standalone reading all the time, and all of the skills they need that you want to develop in these standalone lessons, you're doing that all the time when you're doing your class reading stuff.
So you're hitting with these two strands. You're hitting.
Yeah, honestly, that's truly what I believe. I think you are absolutely hitting all of it, and the only reason we feel the need to do the little standalone, it's not like that standalone 8-page text, is it? No. They're never anything other than standalone, specifically SAT style length tests, really, aren't they? And that's not a coincidence. That's because we are preparing them for the test, not because we think. Okay. I don't think it's because we think that this is necessary for them to enhance our skills. No, just keep doing the lovely reading lessons you're doing and letting them read their own books, applying all those skills that you taught them naturally when you were doing reading lessons with them.
Here's finish off with this question. Oh, you're going to come down on one side, okay? I don't think you'll want to. Is it inherently bad practice to do those standalone texts once or twice a term? Just give it to the children, see what they understand themselves, and almost assess them that way?
For that reason, absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, we're teachers. We do also need to know where the kids are with like hard assessment points. So just doing them occasionally for the sake of, I just want to roughly see where these kids are in terms of their ability to understand something. I need something standardized and it needs to be short enough to fit in a lesson. I don't think there's any problem with that at all. But when it's daily, weekly, and it's riddled with, and the kids are bored because it's like, we're looking at 8 retrieval questions today on this new text. Here's your new text. Everyone, you've got 25 minutes to do it silently, and then we're going to mark it, and we'll do the same again next week, and next week, and next week, and next week. I don't need that many assessment points. Seriously, like you said, probably like 3 times a year.
Yeah, okay.
is like the standard, isn't it? That would give me enough data
would
to see.
The summative tests be enough for you, or would you be happy with doing
more than enough? Summative tests would be more than enough, in my opinion.
That's really interesting. We ended up with a really good chat there. I liked picking your brain because honestly, I'd say so much of our opinions and stuff overlaps that I do find it fascinating talking to you sometimes about things I have less experience with, because I just haven't been in year 6 that much at all in my career.
And we've not really talked about that, have we?
No, and reading, again, we're maths leads together. So reading, is a huge part of the primary school curriculum. I found that really interesting. I'd love to hear what people think at home about both of our points of view, because I think that's possibly the thing where have most differing opinion on, even though a lot of it overlaps. I think. Yeah,
I think it overlaps more than you think.
But I just think that normally we're so in sync that it's quite interesting to hear you saying what you're saying. In terms of, it's opened my mind a bit to that. Maybe we're doing stuff that we don't know.
I'll leave it with this, which is my very, very first thing. What I often say to teachers is, I take a greater depth child from their class in reading, someone that got a greater depth, and I just say to them, if you never taught this child a single comprehension lesson, because this kid loves reading, because that's how they got greater depth, would they still have got greater depth? And I just leave them with that question. And usually the answer is, well, yeah, because they're just really into books and really good at reading. And that's normally where I leave it and go, okay, cool. Think, and then I say, think about how much time you wasted with them, like doing these lessons. And
is your point, the wider point there, if we can somehow try and foster that through good book choice, teacher-led quality questioning, then that we'll see the benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll pay dividends, but it's a long game, isn't it? No one likes long games. We want short, quick wins. That's the problem.
Right, let's move on to the actual bulk of our lesson, shall we? After that lovely chat. Our lesson, I always do that. We've got a career in school and we do a weekly lesson to all of our lovely customers.
Legit customers,
let's play the jingle and we're going to come back and we're going to go through your and our top behaviour hacks, we'll call them. Things you might not have heard before to hopefully help with your behaviour management.
Nice.
I am absolutely loving social media at the minute. I'm a big person. I go through ups and downs with social media, where sometimes I think it's the worst place in the world, and I get caught in a rut replying to trolls and stuff. But when I'm over that, we've managed to build up basically so many of you listeners and people who are on social media who are willing to give your nuggets, your golden nuggets of information. And I've done quite a few posts recently saying, teachers, give me your best blank. Give me your most unhinged blank. What's happened then? What's happened here? And one I did recently was about behavior. And I basically said to people, look, can you give me your number one unhinged 10 out of 10 behavior technique that works all the time? And what I was looking for is those little nuggets that, as a teacher, you just get so excited by when you see someone do something. You're like, oh, I'm going to do that. Because I would never have thought of that.
Or something you thought, I do this and I'm the only person in the world that does this. Yes. And then someone comments it and you're like, what? I do that as well. And this is the bizarre thing that I thought I had made up.
Exactly that. Yeah. So before we dive into all of your amazing suggestions, we've got loads that we're going to read through. Some are funny, some are really, really quite good as well. Yeah. I just wanted to have a very quick chat about behavior in general, Hayden, because I think sometimes it's one of those things, again, I'm harping back to our recent podcast episode where we talked about how much of an impact we truly have as educators and where we can move the needle and things like that. And I do think that a lot of the time, teachers can really beat themselves up about bad behavior. And we can really take the blame ourselves and place that onus on us as bad teachers. I know I do it all the time. I'm going to be really honestly open here. Over the years, I've been a teacher. It's been nearly 10 years now. Behavior management, always something that I was seen as good at. Yeah, I was strong as a student. That was like not one of my things that I should focus on because that's quite good. Maybe I could focus on my pace or something else. Yeah. But behavior management is always seen as quite good. And, I started off my career knowing that. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm quite good with behavior management. Yeah, I can build bonds with the children. I naturally get on with them, which helps. And then I can have strict boundaries, blah, blah, blah. And I remember 3 or 4 years into my career, I got a class that was just trickier. Just behavior was harder to manage. And I remember starting off thinking, that's okay. It's Mr. Price. I've been told I'm good with my behavior management. 2 terms in, behavior was still awful with that class. And it really personally struck me. It really knocked me down a peg almost to say, oh, maybe I'm not this good behavior management person I think I am.
Do you think you've been lucky before then?
Yeah, I've been lucky before. Maybe it's just, I'd got the right kids and I could build those bonds in the right ways. And I really worked it. Their behavior improved over the year, but it was a slog the whole year. It was a slog. And I felt like I wasn't quite getting there with some children. And I felt like a failure because of it. The next year comes along, probably my best class ever in terms of behavior, perfect. And I very soon realized that it's a bit of potluck. My teaching quality didn't change. Yeah. My ability to control behavior didn't change. What did change was my cohort. Yeah. And I just want to say to teachers right now, thinking you've clicked on this, looking for behavior techniques and little hacks and stuff, because you might be thinking, I'm at my wit's end with my class, I can't do anything. The fact you're even on this podcast goes to show that you're a very professional person who wants help with their behavior. And I just want to take away some of that personal onus on you and how you judge yourself based on how well your class behaves, because it's not always, and most of the time, in fact, it's not down to you as an individual.
No, it's not entirely in your control. There's a small, again, it's with everything. There's a small spectrum in which we can make this difference. You know, we can make a bit more of a difference than someone else. We might make a bit, bit less of a difference.
This is the other side of the coin. How many times have you felt like you've really connected with someone or maybe a group of children and have really improved their behavior?
Well, honestly, loads of times.
Yeah, exactly.
Loads of times. They're in some, but equally the other way around.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, right, we're just human beings. Yeah. We cannot completely gel with every single other human being on this planet. And some of those human beings happen to be children. Yeah. Like we can't just, I think sometimes we separate that. We're like, with adults, we accept, oh no, I can't be best mates with everyone. Some people just don't like me. We just don't have the same personality. When it comes to children, we take it extremely personal and we're failures because we haven't made this amazing bond with a child. And it's like, well, they are just a human as well. They're just younger than you. Like they are the same. You might just never quite gel.
There'll be one child in your class who prefers a loud, bubbly teacher with a big personality, who likes to have a laugh and then trusts children to get on when they're doing the right thing. And there'll be another child in the same class who much prefers that strict, quieter, calmer.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no friendliness. There's just like a mutual respect. I like you, you like me, but we're not friends.
We're here to do work.
We're here to do work. Shush, be quiet, silent.
Yeah.
And you cannot possibly appease both of those children. No. It's impossible. Yeah. So that's the point I wanted to make basically before we dive in.
Yeah, sure.
Let's just take a little bit of the personal onus off it. We can still make gains. We can still look at these hacks and improve our behavior management, but we're moving the needle. We're not transforming our entire lives or changing that class overnight. It's not going to happen.
Do you know, I'm glad you said this because you've kind of prefaced like the first comment we've picked up here. We've kind of put separate. And I want to talk about it. Someone commented on your video saying, just build a relationship and respect over years so that they know, in quotations. In other words, he's saying you don't need any of these hacks or strategies. Just build good relationships.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I imagine in your first couple of years of teaching, you probably came to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Because you know what? That's kind of all you needed to do. And then you had that class that challenged that. And it maybe made you think, oh, maybe there's a bit more to this. Maybe there is actually room for behavior management techniques, like purely managerial techniques. It's nothing to do with personality at this point. It's just a tactic you can use. But I find this kind of comment, I used to say this a lot in all honesty, just build up respect.
I think we've said it on this podcast.
Build that respect with them.
We've said it on the podcast.
Yeah, just build the relationships. And do you know what? Over the years, having met a lot of different teachers, sometimes, I'm going to try and find a way to say this, doesn't sound rude. Sometimes.
That's weird. You don't normally think about that.
Yeah, it's about you. That's all right. Sometimes like people's personality, you can still be a really good teacher, but their personality just doesn't lend itself to being the type of teacher that we're thinking about when we say just build that relationship and just have rapport with all of them. Some teachers just seem so naturally good at that. Yeah. They're just so good at not being friends, but just being friendly and genuine with all the kids. And there's other teachers that just don't have, like their personalities don't match maybe as well as all the kids in the class. And they're really good teachers and maybe they have that more strict style of teaching, but they just can't do that. As well. Like it's a much harder feat for them.
It would be insane to suggest that everyone can do this easily. And it would be crazy to say to all teachers, just do this, as if they maybe haven't tried.
It's a bit condescending.
Yeah, or maybe they could just do it. And again, I don't want to fall into the trap of saying to this guy, that's rubbish, because actually I think it is really powerful to build a relationship with children. Of course. But it's just not simple. No. It's not easy to do. And I think a lot of teachers who struggle with it are trying to do it. Yeah, so it becomes really unhelpful when someone says, just do that. Can I give you... trying for 4 years.
Exactly. I'll give you one good analogy. I spoke to a teacher fairly recently, actually, who's been in teaching like 25 years. And they said how interesting it was. And it made them feel really down, actually, that they can no longer do this. They said it's really interesting how the dynamics changed. Now that I'm a lot older than the children, she was saying that when she was a lot younger, it was way more easy to naturally just bond with the kids and gel. And I think I found that when I was like an NQT and I was like 23 or whatever, it was so much easier to bond with the kids. We're closer in age. And she was saying how even though she's just as good a teacher as she always was, she was like, it just doesn't work anymore. She was like, I just don't get that natural respect anymore.
Right.
I just don't get that natural relationship, even though I work at it even harder than I ever have before. And she was like, the dynamic has just changed. And she was like, and I think it's because I'm older. That's the only thing she could bring it down to, was that I just don't think I'm this. It's just not the same as when I was 23. I'm 50 now.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so interesting that person's thought that. I've not thought much more about it until now, because I didn't want to just be like, oh yeah, so older you get, less respect they have for you. Like,
sure.
I don't think that's how it works, but it just raised an interesting point that the same human being had seen both ends of this spectrum we're talking about.
And how the end goal can be to create the relationship and the respect. And maybe some of these hacks we're about to go through might help you get there.
Yeah.
And maybe some of these hacks might be better once you've already built that relationship. You know, it's going to be a mix. There's no answer here that gets you there straight away. One person I will signpost right now is Claire from the Unteachables, Australian educator, unbelievable resources on behavior management.
Right.
Lots of the same kind of vibe of like, teach, don't blame yourself. Look, and let's not blame the kids as well. Look, there's so many reasons why children might misbehave.
Very complex.
There's so many reasons why you might struggle with that behavior. She's got such a nice vibe about her, where if you're an educator and you want help with behavior, my goodness, she's the person to go to, because there's so many tips there. So once you finish this,
good to know.
she's got a podcast as well, the Unteachables podcast, where she goes through all of these top stuff. So go there if you want more behavior tips. She's your person.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
I'll be checking that out for sure.
Right, so let's dive into then some of these that we got. Again, some are funny, some are really helpful. I'm going to start with my own one. Okay, so this is my own little hack, and I call it a hack because I think anyone can do it straight away. And this works really well for me. So my one that I do in the classroom is I like to say to my class, I'm just waiting for 2 people to stop talking. When in reality, if you looked at my class, about 14 of them were just chatting with each other.
Yeah.
But what it does is, as soon as they hear I'm just waiting for 2, and they know they're one of them, they almost immediately be like, oh, I'll stop, because they think they're the only ones. They think
you're the one of the 2.
Exactly.
That's such a good way.
So I've got 14 kids at once thinking they're the only ones talking, and they stop. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's such a good strategy, rather than naming everyone. And 2 is clever as well. If you did 1, it's like, well, I know I'm talking to someone else, so that he's lying.
The pairs.
2, it's like, oh, it's us 2. It's us 2. Exactly. As soon as they're talking in a 3, though, I'll be putting their middle fingers up at you saying, yeah, all right, Mr. Price.
We've worked it out. Good lie. I'm just waiting for 7 of you. That'll cover everyone.
They're in a big group. They're in a circle. I'm just waiting for 32 children to stop talking. Mr. Price, we're doing a circle time group chat right now. Anyway, have you got any other ones, Behaviour Guru?
One other thing. This works surprisingly well, and I've seen a lot of people comment this as well, actually, because I thought to myself, you always think, I've come up with something here. No, I haven't. Everyone does this. Is when they're just chatting. Do you know when you've said to your class before, okay, guys, quieten down, let's crack on, and they just slowly eke back up again. Yeah, of course they do. Their children slowly eke back up. It's normal. Or if they've just come in from lunchtime, this is a big one. They come in from lunch and they know it's supposed to be quiet after lunch, but they come in, they're chatting, they're getting a drink, they're talking to their mate. Oh, yeah, that was over the line in the football. What are you doing? And they see someone they haven't seen. They'll want to chat. This is normal. I'm actually not going to get angry at them. I'm just not. That's just not me. So what I do instead is I just look disappointed. Okay. So I give up. Right? I'm like, cool, I'm not even going to say anything. I slowly walk over to my chair, sit down, get Word document up. And like 4 or 5 kids, always 4 or 5 kids are sat waiting. So they're watching me already. And they're going, shh, look, shh, look. And I just get a Word document up. So it's on the interactive whiteboard. And I just start typing out instructions. Could be how I'm feeling, anything. It could be like, I'm so disappointed in the noise levels here, but I don't say anything. I'm just typing it. I'm so disappointed in the noise levels. Thank you so much to everyone watching nicely. Get your books out and read quietly, please. Yeah. And the ripple goes through the classroom. They're like, look, what's on the board? It's under us. We're talking. And I don't say anything. Save my voice. Yep. I found the negative space of silence works so well for me.
Definitely. And there's nothing more powerful than getting kids to tell other kids to be quiet. Exactly. It's so much better. If you say, because your voice becomes background noise, it just does. By the end of the year, you have repeated yourself and phrases and noises so many times that, you look at how children react with parents. Sometimes you think, oh, God, they behave really badly with their parents, and not me, though. Honestly, it's because they've been with them longer. If you taught them for 6 years, they'd probably start treating you the same, and your noise, things you say would become background noise. They learned what they can get away with and ignore. Yeah, they're good tips. Let's read out some from online then, and we'll see if we do any of these as well. Go on then. So the first one, used to tell my class that whoever picked up the thing or tidied up the object that I was thinking of got 5 house points. Classroom was tidy in seconds. This is such a classic. This is almost similar to what I'm saying, isn't it? Literally, yeah. In terms of creating this imaginary
idea. I can guarantee that this guy who wrote this never ever actually has anything in his mind.
No, of course not. He's just thinking, I want all the things tidied. Yeah. And what you do, I actually do this exact thing. And what I do is I'm just constantly scanning for things that haven't been picked up. And I'll look at the thing and go, oh, someone's still not got it. Until everything's picked up. It just always happens to be the very last thing that gets picked up.
Yeah,
it's quite brilliant. Funny.
So that's quite a common one. Yeah. We have Mrs. Sayer again, another fantastic TikToker. If you go and look through her teacher content, she's also on maternity leave. She does mum content too. Fantastic account. She does something called the grid, and I found this really interesting. So 4 spaces on the grid. Every time that she notices someone doing something good,
so positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement, their name goes on the grid. But here's the catch. It becomes competitive. They can knock others out of the grid. So whoever is left at the end gets a treat or a positive email home.
Well,
so
nice.
All positive. And then she just described it as turning into classroom Hunger Games, but of everyone trying to follow the expectations. So instead of going unhinged off the scale, in fact, everyone wants so badly to get onto that grid, they're all going out of their way to follow the expectations.
It's quite fun making it a game. I think that's sweet. I can imagine some people will be like, oh, actually, well, if they get knocked off the grid, they might then feel negative about that.
Yeah.
But if it's just... I think sometimes people forget that there are more than one behavior strategy. If this is just one thing you're doing as a fun little game, little perk to your class, and that encourages good behavior, it's a good laugh.
And funnily enough, maybe we'll dive into this maybe in a full podcast episode in the future. This whole idea of rewards for behavior.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of sanctions for behavior. Because I've seen a lot of people move and say, well, this is all research based now. And actually it's better to not have rewards or sanctions at all. Oh. And I don't know too much about it because from my point of view, I feel like being super positive and rewarding children works really well for me.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's obviously the only way to do stuff. But I do find it interesting when someone says, the way you're doing it isn't backed by research.
Yeah.
That always piques my interest.
Well, okay, well, what are people saying then?
It does seem successful to me.
The only thing I know, just loosely based on this, is the idea that there is a negative side of if children aren't doing things intrinsically for themselves, they're only doing it for a reward. I know there's research out there that says we probably shouldn't be encouraging people to only do things for a reward, and we should encourage people to do things because it makes them feel good.
Yeah,
I've seen a bit about that. I imagine it links something.
Yeah, because so how many schools have something like house points?
Yeah,
where honestly, I've given out house points before for children sitting nicely, and I can understand if someone came up to me and said, they shouldn't really reward children just for sitting.
Yeah,
and I'd be like, okay. But I am though.
I'm going to encourage it.
I just don't know, I'm very open to it.
Yeah, me too. I'd be really curious to see the counter argument for that because I think that could be good. Should we do another one?
Yeah.
My class were refusing to be quiet, so I got on a table and just stood there until they all noticed and went silent. Then I got back down and continued like nothing happened. This is where we're getting into hacks now, just like unhinged random things that...
Are we really telling our thousands of listeners, like, your kids, just stand on a table.
Yeah, just stand on a table.
It's that shock, isn't it?
Break the health and safety rules.
Yeah, we do not condone any breaking of health and safety rules. Do not stand on any tables. Next one. This came up a lot. Secret student. This idea of kind of identifying a secret student for the day or the week or whatever you want to call it. And throughout your day, saying things like, the secret student is doing really well. Or the secret student is behaving nicely.
It's another one, isn't it? It's the same as your one. Again, not naming things or people in particular, letting everyone think it's them or their object. It's the same concept, isn't it? I'm starting to see it come through.
Yeah.
So they get a prize at the end of the day if they have good behavior.
So again, in this, I'm assuming, just to clarify for people, that the secret student doesn't know they're the secret student.
Yeah, that's the point. So everyone thinks it might be them.
Exactly.
In the same way, the people talking in your example, they don't know that it's them that you're talking about.
Right.
Or 2 people are still talking. Yeah, 15 of them are.
Yeah.
Now all 15 of them think it's them. Oh, my secret student isn't doing this thing. Okay, 19 of them aren't doing the right thing. But the secret student's thinking, oh, I'm not doing that thing.
Yeah.
It must be me then. Exactly. Oh, I bet it's me. I better keep an eye on it now.
And they want a prize for being good.
Yeah. Okay.
Amazing. And the problem with, if you're a type B teacher like me, you'll just forget at the end to name the secret student.
I absolutely would. I'll forget to even start the secret teacher. You get to the end of the day and announce the secret student. But you didn't tell us you were doing it, sir. Oh, yeah. No, I didn't, did I? I forgot about it.
You did it the wrong way.
I forgot about the bit where
you got none of the benefits.
I forgot about the incentive.
All you do is at the end, you're like, well, I've got a rubber for someone. Well, okay, no.
Why? You were my secret student. Oh.
What's a secret
But
student?
I was horribly behaved today.
Yeah,
you were actually, yeah.
Oh, God. Type B teachers for the win. Right, next one. I loved this one. Random name generator at the end of a class gets an email home. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad.
They decide.
You just decide as the teacher at the point, well, I'm going to pick a name randomly at the end of this lesson. And no matter what you do, I'm talking to your parents.
Yeah, I'm feeding back to your parents how you want. That's quite nice.
And a lot of that about this is it's at the end of the lesson. So it is random as well. So it's like, it could be you then. Look, listen, if you're not listening properly.
Yeah.
And this was secondary school, may I add, so that she gets an hour with them.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really cool idea.
That's quite I actually quite like the idea of how that links to accountability a little bit.
Okay.
You know how we are increasingly living in a world where everyone can just be anonymous and be horrible and get away with it.
Sure.
Constantly just get away with horrible behavior, basically.
Trolls, basically.
Yeah, because there's nothing keeping you in check. Genuinely, it's all honest. I like the idea of it's like okay, you know, no one knows. It's the opposite way around. It's a nice. No one. One of you is going to get a letter home today. So you could if we didn't have this, you could probably be horrible and get away with it. Yeah. Probably. But actually, I'll tell you what, one of you's getting picked. So it might be worth making good choices.
Yeah. And what's that random name generator? Oh, I've accidentally typed in the same name 24 times. It's you, Johnny.
Yeah.
You get a letter home
It's
today.
random until I really need to send a letter home. That's quite funny. I like that. I think there's something there.
That's really good.
All right, another one. Kids weren't listening to me. I made a... Sorry, I keep laughing before I finish. Kids weren't listening to me. I made a fake phone call to the doctor asking for help as I seem to have turned invisible. I can imagine doing that in the class.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Hiya. Yeah, sorry. Is that the GP? Sure. Yeah, I know it's not 8 a.m., but just pretend it's a fake phone call.
Yeah.
I seem to have turned invisible because no one's listening to a word I'm saying. I can imagine them looking around the room and just playing up to it.
It's reminded me of, can I tell you an unhinged thing I did many years ago with a class? One of those things where I've never done it with a class because it's just had to be, it's just the right, sometimes you just have a class and the right thing comes out and it works with them, doesn't it? Because it's funny.
You are setting this up to be completely unhinged.
It is quite unhinged.
I wouldn't do this with anyone else.
It is as unhinged as me pretending that my meter stick is a blowpipe.
Okay.
And
anyone
children at times tables.
blow dart times tables. Anyway, go on.
That wasn't. Anyway, it was years ago, right? I was with a year 6 class, and I had a really, you know, when you have a really good banter with like a particular child, like they really get your jokes. Maybe they got like, you can tell when you talk to their parents, they've got quite mature humor or something like that. He shouted out once, and I sort of looked at him like, seriously, what are you doing? He sort of smirked at me because he knew he did wrong. I said, okay, come on to the front, please. Okay, thank you. And then we just did this whole skit of I had this moving whiteboard. He went behind the whiteboard. I said, don't you ever embarrass me like this again. How dare you do this to me? He was like, oh, I'm sorry. And he was playing along straight away because he knew it was a skit. I'm so sorry, Mr. Teacher. I'm so sorry, Mr. Teacher. We came out but pretending like we hadn't just gone behind the board and done that. So all the kids are like laughing. It's like one of those shows where you can see the silhouette.
Greg Davis does that a lot on Taskmaster.
Yes, literally. And then
because he's an ex-teacher.
And I hadn't seen, like, this is before I'd even ever watched Taskmaster, so he got it from me, just saying. But it's that sort of thing, because he took over James Acaster, and he pretended, why are you doing that? And James Acaster got all sheepish.
It's really embarrassing, actually.
Literally that. I did that with this kid, and it only worked. I never did it with anyone else. No. It was
the right moment with the right child.
That kid knew it, and that class, it was just the right thing to do for them. And then after that, because we'd had fun for 20 seconds, but the whole overarching point here was, please don't interrupt me when I'm talking because it is really annoying. No one then did it. It was great, and it worked for them.
Or they all did it because I wanted a bit of a chat.
I know, but that's a risk. Yeah, that is a genuine risk. I actually, I don't know about you, but I factor that in. Whenever I do anything that's a bit unhinged or silly, one of the biggest factors is, will this have a net loss, though, to the class? Because then they all want to do that silly thing. Or will they get the nuance of, I'm making this wider point, I'm just trying to do it in a nice way to you all?
It's like that thing. If you don't get all your work done, you have to stay in at lunchtime and do it. I'm like, I want to stay in. Like, okay. Right. So half of you, if you don't get your work done, you're staying at lunchtime. You half, if you don't get your work done, you're going out at lunchtime.
Literally. I like both options.
Okay. Just get your work done.
Whatever.
And that's where those things actually fall apart a bit. And you've got to know your kids.
You've got to.
And this is where I suppose earlier, if we're thinking about things where have a relationship is more important, I wouldn't do something like that unless I felt confident I'd built that relationship.
Exactly. I think there's probably a reason that I've done it 1 year out of 10 years in my career. I've actually felt like that was appropriate because all the other 9 years I probably thought of doing it, but thought this isn't going to work.
So,
with these guys.
For example, all of these hacks here, they're not necessarily going to work for all classes ever, even for you individually.
No, some of them won't work ever at all. Like you might not want to stand on a table. That probably isn't the best thing to advise.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just funny. Isn't it?
I got a short one here, which really made me laugh. And do you know, sometimes you have callbacks and stuff. This woman mentioned this callback. So she will stand at the front of the class and go, "Hear ye, hear ye," and then the class will go, "All hail the Queen." Just so self-indulgent, but then exaggerated bows and curtsies.
Allowed.
And what I like about some of these hacks is I can imagine a classroom where that happens. The kids are fun, having a laugh, they're enjoying it, and then they crack on. That's what I love about classrooms like that, where you can just have those moments.
Yeah, silly little things. I've had kids before where I'm like, the joke is that they're only allowed to call me sir, but only that kid. So they were talking about, oh, sorry, who are you talking to? Oh, sorry, Sir Stevens. Sir Stevens. Like, yeah, thank you.
Do you know, a lot of people will hear that and they'll go, that's bullying.
Oh my God.
That's bullying. That's bullying. I'm glad you're not my child's teacher. Mate, I wouldn't want to be your child's teacher. Like, when you see that online, like, I'm glad you're not in charge. So am I.
Yeah.
Because of parents like you. And if your kid, I wouldn't do it to your child, clearly.
Yeah, because I'd know.
Yeah.
Because my job is knowing the kids. Yeah, I do it with the kid who knows, who actually values having that banter. I do it with the kid who goes home and feels special and says to their parents, Mr. Stevens had this joke with me today. Yeah. And their parents are like, oh, I love that Mr. Stevens takes the time to get to know my kid and have this special relationship with them because they didn't really enjoy school before. Yeah. Like, it's like I've thought about it. Yeah. And so have you guys. Like, we think about these things.
Exactly that.
Mindless. Anyway.
Exactly that.
Anyways, next one. Myself and other adults in the room would start a random quiet conversation about the weekend or what's for dinner, etc. And then children would soon stop talking and start listening in. It only takes about 10 seconds.
That's taking advantage of their nosiness.
Capitalizing on the nosiness. I love that one.
How many times have you seen that where you're like, why are you quiet now? Yeah. You're trying to have a conversation with your teaching assistant or something that's like really important and you don't want the kids to hear. Silence suddenly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Kids, carry on talking, please. You have to tell the kids to talk.
Everyone's nosy, but kids are the nosiest. It's brilliant.
This was one of my favorite ones. Someone mentioned having a handwriting crown.
God, that's so
Again, the reason it's one of my favorite ones is because literally this year, for context, we've got a tub for our house points. So there's a tub, right?
Yeah.
And there's a couple of weeks where the house points run out. Like I've given out too many or, there's none left. And I've got like an empty tub for a few days. And I turned that tub upside down, right? So it turned into a cap, and I wrote on it, the hat of destiny. So we had the hat of destiny in our room, and I would just walk around the room, and the kids I'd be like, you can only wear the hat of destiny if you have impeccable behavior, because you are then in charge of the class. Like you have the hat of destiny. What you say goes, and it's the kids. Writing beautifully, doing some unbelievable writing. The great thing is to not put it on anyone's head for like a good 10 minutes.
Yeah, because you want
to get the work out of them. Then I put it on this child's head, and this child was king of the classroom now. Yeah. Had the hat of destiny. Yep. And I just said to the child, you can choose what you're going to do. Now, it's your rule. It's your rule, king blank blank. It's your rule. Yeah. You can do what you want. But then because he was in charge, he took it really seriously.
Of course
and his rule was like, you must never forget a capital letter at the start of your sentence, else you will be punished. And all the kids did it. They all did it. Like, it was just nonsense thing. Yeah. This little game, just this little hook. It worked with them. They did some amazing work. That child felt special. Came up with a rule that was really sensible because you put trust in your kids. It was like one of them moments where I just thought, I love my job. Yeah. I love my job.
I think sometimes because we spend the day doing very serious work all the time, we forget that they are just like 8-year-olds sometimes. And they love role play. They're at the age where role play is like a huge part of their life. And I think if you do anything serious like that, you can make a huge difference. Like in my class and for years, the whiteboard pen on our smart board, our interactive whiteboard. If I ever want, I need to spice up this lesson a bit because maybe it's a bit boring, whatever. Right, one of you guys needs to come up and do the answer on the board. Yeah. Oh, I was like, whoa, no, I'm not sure anyone. Hang on, can you guys handle it though? They're getting serious at this point. They're getting into role play mode. This is the pen of wisdom. It's always the pen of wisdom.
The something of something.
I don't think you can hold the pen of wisdom unless you're really worthy. I'm going to test you, but I'm a bit worried. And I'll get someone up, and I'll get everyone going. Oh, no, but I'm not sure. You might have to go and you might have to bow down on one knee whilst I pass you this pen of wisdom. And they take it, and I always jump back thinking something's going to explode. And they just love it. It's just silly little things like that because it's role play. They're kids.
Yeah. So the handwriting crown was the same kind of idea. That idea of giving a carrot to the kids, doing a bit of role play, having them enjoy themselves. Yeah, I just love it.
I like this one. I find threatening to sing to them does the job nicely. Most living creatures would do anything not to hear me sing. It's quite funny.
There was a lot of singing in general, actually. We had a lot of callbacks. Callbacks are a big part of behavior management for people, and some people do put in like funny callbacks. And there was one. It was there was this song, the song na 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 na, and this person used that, and at the end would say, "Sitting on your chair, sitting on your chair," and just replace that with any instruction, and it worked for them beautifully. I think there is a room for that kind of behavior, but, and this is where I'm harping back to what we said at the start, we're going to come full circle here. There's a load of different hacks and techniques there that we talked about. Yeah. But coming full circle, I think it's just really important, and we should not judge teachers for doing what I'm about to say, which is knowing your own personality, beliefs, principles and ways of doing stuff without impacting others.
Yeah.
So if you, for example, there will be so many teachers out there who, to be honest with you, should not do that singing, na 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 na. It's just not them.
No.
They would be doing it because they feel forced to do it, because they want to try and be that fun teacher that all the kids get on with, and I'm building that relationship. I got told to build a relationship, so I've got to sing a silly song. So you don't.
Yeah. And the kids will be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, and
because they already understand. That kids are smart. They already know your personality.
Yeah. And it's easy for people like me and you who absolutely, we are that type of teacher.
Yeah.
We are, that upbeat, joking, and always trying to make the kids laugh in a way that I know, for me, is nothing to do with, I just inherently want to be the funny teacher. I want to be the guy they get on with. No. Every single thing I do has the end goal of, the children love being in school. The children give me as much as they possibly can. We get as much out of them as we can.
And you don't lose behavior.
Exactly. This is the thing that I think we can mold more than, like we mentioned, academic success last time.
Yeah.
Do you know what we can mold? Is a child's attitudes, is a child's comfort, safety, enjoyment of school, which means that they themselves then will unlock that academic attainment through those characteristics. So I see my job as facilitating that movement of the child themselves. So whenever a parent comes to me at Parents' Evening and says, "Thank you so much, you've made such a difference with this child," I will always say, no. They've made a difference themselves. I'm a facilitator. I run this classroom in a way where I want them to make the progress, and they do, because they might react in a certain way. That's where I can have the impact. That's where I want to move the dial. I don't care about draining test technique for 64 hours a week, like we're going back full circle.
Yeah.
My whole point here is, and I agree completely from earlier, enjoyment with quality teaching, because I'm a quality educator who's a professional, and everyone listening to this has gone through training and done all of that. Trust to get on with the job and let the children develop. It's child-centered, everything I'm doing.
Yeah. Love that. You summarized my thoughts as well. I have nothing else to add. What I will do
Your favourite comment last week was, "I've nothing else to add." You said it like 5 times.
Did I?
Yeah,
in the podcast?
So yeah,
I have nothing else to add. Yeah, I love it when you say everything.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm joking. No, it's just really good. I was listening there just thinking, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I thought I'll leave it with this last one then.
Go on then.
Because this one made me laugh. Wouldn't recommend this one as much as standing on the table. Not behaviour per se, but taping chair legs to table legs. For the more notorious of chair swingers. I just saw that. I thought, I tell you what, that is a pathway to parental complaints somehow, isn't it? You know, there are some classes and some children where if you did that, you would not hear the end of it.
Tell you what though.
Oh my days.
Some people do.
I know. Wouldn't it be nice though?
What's that? You're still swinging on your chair? Not anymore.
Yeah.
Duct tape.
Literally. It does remind me of one good thing that I always, because I'm a type B teacher, every time I remember it, I don't then do it. Is just literally putting like little bits of tape on the floor for where you want your tables and chairs. So that at the end of the day, the kids know right before they go, rather than you every day pulling all the tables back 6 meters, because the kids constantly push it forward, don't they, by being on the tables. You just, end of the day, reset your tables, and they've got the little corner marks on the floor, and they just put their tables back.
So do you put the tape down but forget to tell them to do it, or do you just forget to put the tape down?
I forget to put the tape down because I think of it.
Tell them.
I think
back
of it.
To the tape, guys. What tape?
I think of the idea just specifically as I'm leaving the room at the end of the day, and think, I'm not doing that now. I'll do it tomorrow, and then never do it. So.
Right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you got something out of those behavior hacks. Let us know if you've got any more yourself. Leave us a review, as we are so nicely at the start, and I will see you again. Well, I personally, just me, will see you again next week. Hayden, you coming next week?
I might be there. Yeah, I might be there.
Nice.